My friends, it seems like every day the Democrat Party, modern Democrat Party, is doing everything possible within their power to stop honesty in elections from occurring. You have this with the BS no ID voting that's rampant on Democrat states. They do everything they can to defend it, all under the rubric of it's more racism and black people are too stupid to know how to get IDs. Another crap like that, which is both insulting and also insidious. And why this matters is they claim, of course, that, cheating is so rare, it almost never happens. But that's because I don't think we really investigate it. And I think when all is said and done, the rampant fraud, like if you were able to force in-person voting, no mail-in ballots, if you ended up with mass deportation, where you eradicate 80 to 90% of all the illegals who are infesting this country, I think you would find that voting would change dramatically. And I think this is why the Democrat Party is fighting tooth and nail to keep this from happening. So this is from the Post-Millennial. This is the latest outrage coming from the Democrat Party. Oregon is now declining criminal investigations into those who illegally voted. They said at least 1,863 individuals or people were unlawfully registered to vote under the Oregon Department of Motor Vehicles voter registration system. They're going to, of course, say that these people didn't know any better. Oh, no. This is by Katie Daviscourt. Oregon election officials announced that they will not pursue criminal investigations against the dozens of non-citizens who illegally cast ballots in elections in recent years. So these were people who weren't even citizens who were illegally registered to vote after they were unlawfully registered to vote due to a DMV clerical error. Let me tell you something. If you are not a citizen, you damn well know you shouldn't be voting in American elections. So who cares if it's a DMV clerical error? These are just 1,863 people in a long line of what will inevitably come out as illegal voters as the crackdowns continue. Now, according to a statement from the Oregon Secretary of State, the decision rests on the fact that the non-citizens allegedly did not knowingly violate election laws or were either eligible to vote at the time that they did. The Secretary of State's office will not refer anyone for criminal prosecution because the DMV mistakenly registered them to vote. Oh, I'm sure it was a mistake, all right. A clerical error at DMV caused these mistaken registrations, not the unlawful actions of any of the people registered. You mean other than the fact that they went out and voted, even though they were not legally allowed to do so. Now this comes, the Post-Millennial writes, after last year's investigation revealed that at least 1,863 people were unlawfully registered to vote under the Oregon Department of Motor Vehicles voter registration system. Hundreds of those individuals were determined to be non-citizens. Again, outrageous. And the fact that they're not going to prosecute or even investigate should tell you everything you need to know about the Democrat Party. Because, getting illegals to vote, of course, I think is already one big problem. And I think I believe it's far greater than anyone is admitting. I don't know if we'll ever find out the true reach of illegal immigration voting, but it is catastrophic. But then on top of that, you have those who are, let's just say, who are citizens, who are maybe double voting, using mail-in ballots. There's so much fraud. It's really hard to quantify. Which, again, you need to go back to same-day voting, same-day results. This shouldn't be that hard. Now, hundreds of these individuals were determined to be non-citizens. Oregon law allows anyone to obtain a driver's license despite immigration status, which, again, that should be a crime for states to do this. The federal government needs to bring the hammer down on states that do this. California, with a commercial driver's license, where literally over 60,000 illegal aliens have obtained driver's license, commercial driver's license, and are actively driving within the country. States should be prosecuted for this. There needs to be some kind of control to stop states from breaking federal law, from allowing illegal aliens, non-citizens, from actively working in this country. It's supposed to be a crime, but the states are enabling this. They need to pay a price. Legislatures that pass these kinds of laws that allow this to happen should be prosecuted. And those who enable it, from all the way down to the DMV, need to face penalties as well. This needs to be quelled. For the survival of this country, this kind of crap has to go. Now, the error occurred when DMV staff mistakenly selected U.S. passport or U.S. birth certificate while entering documentation data for individuals applying for driver's licenses. This error led to non-citizens being added to the voter registration system. There should be no way that you have a mistaken blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Should not ever be, you shouldn't even be able to, there shouldn't even be a realm of possibility for this to happen. So the whole thing needs to be thrown out the way they do their systems. The DOJ needs to investigate the state of Oregon and all the other Democratic states that do this. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's what I think should. I think there needs to be a heavy price to pay for enabling non-citizens to vote and also non-citizens to get access to IDs, driver's licenses. That should not be allowed. Now, 39 of the 1,863 individuals who were unlawfully registered, many of whom were not a citizen, had cast ballots in elections in recent years. So these a-holes had been out there voting. The Oregonian reported, election authorities argued that the number of people who voted illegally did not affect the outcome of an election. Of course, they're always going to say that. And they will never admit to union fraud, to mail-in voting fraud as affecting elections. But I guarantee you, if you force same-day elections, Democrats would face a bloodbath. They rely on cheating to win. Now, at least 3 people were referred to the Oregon Department of Justice for a criminal probe due to the Secretary of State's office stating that they had not responded to their inquiry about voting history. However, the corrupt, I'm adding that part, state DOJ decided not to proceed with the investigations because they're pieces of shit. Department of Justice Administrator Jeffrey Howes wrote in September a letter issued to Deputy Secretary of State Michael Kaplan that it would be difficult to prove that any of these individuals knowingly violated the law. You mean other than actually voting when it was illegal for them to do so. Each case presents complex proof challenges to reach the standard of necessary for a criminal conviction. How about deportation? Howe said, according to the letter obtained by Oregon Capitol Chronicle, the U.S. Department of Justice has not yet issued a public statement regarding the termination of the criminal investigations. Out freaking rageous. You know, the Democrat Party does everything in their power to defend illegal voting because that's part of their axis of evil, their axis of power. Corruption has always been at the forefront of ballot harvesting and mail-in voting. All you have to know is when you look at the Democrat Party and everything they do to block protection of election integrity, to know where their heads really are at. I mean, think about every attempt that the Democrat Party has engaged in to stop voter ID laws. I remember it was the ACLU and the Democrat Party got together and they did a study in San Diego, this back in 2017, where they were claiming that photo ID laws was cutting turnout of Latinos by 10% and blacks by 8%. But you have to wonder then how many of those people were not legally able to vote. You know, if the Democrat Party had a 10% reduction in voters across the board, there would be hell to pay. So, you know, just every attempt that I've seen by the Democrat Party has always been to protect illegal voting, always under the rubric of it's not fair, it's not right, blah, blah, blah. It's just the excuse that they use. So the bottom line is voter ID for voting needs to become the standard across the board. You need to find a way to get rid of mail-in voting once and for all and force people to do same-day voting outside of maybe extreme circumstances where you have to go through a whole bunch of litany of steps to get mail-in voting, and primarily if you're out of the country, etc. It should be like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent of people should be able to do mail-in voting outside of maybe the troops. Otherwise, there's no excuse for it. So we'll see what happens, my friends, but keep an eye on the Democrat Party. The battle right now is on to survive the Donald Trump era and to gain power